Hey, Mike.
Hey, Caroline.
Who are we talking to today?
We are talking to two amazing artists, John Moreland, singer-songwriter, and visual artist, Pearl Rachinsky.
I loved this conversation. I feel like we really got to dig into what makes them do what they do and how they've been able to, as a married couple, make this whole thing work.
They talk about the miracle of making it on their own terms. They talked a lot about authenticity and what drives them and just self-belief. I mean, it sounds cheesy, but you really do need that to have a career in anything. So, especially the arts.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I guess we'll start, as we always start, by asking our favorite question. Do you think art and money go together?
I mean, well, I think what you're asking is, do you think art and money should go together? Do I? I have no fucking idea. I don't know. But they do go together.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it.
With varying results.
Yes.
Pearl, do you agree?
I mean, it's yes and no, you know.
We both make art for money, so I guess we do it, so it's real.
And we've been spending decades at this point figuring out how to, manage, how to keep a good balance, how to find resolve
the various
with
ins and outs.
That's right. And it's a learning process, and it's been a lot of trial and error and lots of pain and lots of awesomeness and experience and opportunity. And so, for us, it's just been a matter of like figuring out where you're happy and what works for your art, and also so you can pay your rent.
I mean, I'm glad. I mean, it's like should art be, commercialized? I don't know. Like, I can see why there's some questions there, but at the same time, I'm glad I get to make money doing music because I don't want to do anything else.
Do you feel there's pressure to be grateful for the opportunity to make art as your job? Yeah,
well, there is pressure, I think. I feel grateful for sure. I think I've felt pressure at times to feel like people around you maybe want you to feel more grateful than you are. Or they're not happy with like how you're expressing the gratitude or something, which seems to come from a weird jealousy kind of thing. Perhaps, maybe, or I don't know, or some kind of feelings.
I mean, or resentment, or.
I do think there's pressure, but it's something I genuinely feel anyway. Because I realized how unlikely it is, and I always dreamed of doing it since I was a kid, and kind of struggled to make it happen for a long time. So it kind of, when it did happen, and the fact that it's still going, I'm pretty grateful, and I think about that every day, I would say.
It sounds like you have a long story about, getting to the place you are now. Do you mind giving us a little inside look into what that's been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the short rundown first. Maybe we can get into other stuff if you want, but like, I started when I was 10. My family moved from Kentucky to Oklahoma, and so I lost all my friends and didn't really know what to do with myself or have anybody to play with. And my dad had a guitar, a 51 Martin double aught 18 that he was like in his closet, and so I just started kind of playing that thing and asking him to show me some chords and show me how to play stuff. And I started writing songs pretty quickly. And then when I was about 12 or 13, kind of started playing in my first actual bands with friends and trying to play little gigs at all ages venues, little punk shows or friends' backyards or whatever we could do. And, kind of just kept doing that all through my teens. And then when I was like 19 or 20, kind of started writing like solo acoustic songs. And that's what I'm still doing now. I mean, at that point, I guess that started another chapter of kind of like, still doing music, but doing it a little differently and trying to fit in a little bit different space and figure out how things work there. And like, so, it was like a good 9-10 years of just kind of obscurity of, toiling away, whatever. But I loved that part of it too. And it always kind of just felt like I don't know what else I'm going to do, so I'm going to keep doing this. And, and then suddenly it just kind of started to pick up and became my job.
Were you working jobs before that?
Yeah, worked a bunch, never for very long. Like, the longest job I've ever had other than music is 3 or 4 months, probably. I sold boots at a Western wear store and I was a night stalker at Target for about a week. Washed dishes at a pizza place also for about a week. I polished granite countertops. And then honestly, my favorite job I had was dumping screws into boxes. Like that's what it was. There are these big trays of screws that got painted. And then after they were painted, when the paint was dry, I would just like dump them into this box through this big funnel, and the paint would cause them to stick to the funnel. And I had a big 2x4 and I would just beat them out, just beat the big metal funnel. And that was like a pretty sick job. Like. Just hit metal with a big 2x4 all day, So that was, I think that's about, that's most of them. Yeah. And then I kind of like, that was the 2x4 job. That was the last one. And then I was kind of like, I'm just going to see if I can play music.
Yeah, to make the leap.
Yeah.
So before we get to the leap, I mean, when you were playing in punk bands and stuff growing up, were you modeling yourself after DIY people or cult heroes, or what was your vision for making
for sure.
it?
Yeah, I mean, I just got into the local punk scene and, kind of quickly just kind of saw how things work there, and it's not hard it's DIY, it's for everybody. It's not hard to like get into that and start a band and get added to some shows and start doing your thing. And just through being into that stuff, you just learn how to do it. And then it was, when I was about 16, 17, it was kind of like, all right, let's see if we can like get a van and book a tour during summer break or whatever, doing those kinds of things. Just like, that's just kind of intuitively learned from just kind of like participating in the scene, luckily Tulsa's not, Oklahoma in general, not a place known for its hardcore scene or punk scene, but we did have like a small but active one at the time. So that was a really good thing.
That's cool. So when was it that you realized that you had something special, maybe something worthwhile to keep you going enough to like endure all these like menial jobs and, jobs where you're dumping screws into boxes?
Yeah, I think, maybe it's arrogance. I don't know. But I think I always just felt good about music. When I started playing the guitar and started writing my first songs, it felt like, I'm sure it was, very bad, but I at 10 or 12 or whatever, I felt like, I think this is like a pretty good song. And so I don't know, that was enough to make me keep doing it. And then I just kind of always felt like that, even when I probably shouldn't have. And then eventually I got, actually kind of good. And
but were other people telling you that, or were
once I started kind of doing the songwriter thing, and then that was kind of like, I think I found something here. Like people, everything I did before that were like bands. So it was always kind of like, songs weren't necessarily the most important thing. It was kind of just like guitar parts and tone and, how good's the drummer and things like that. And so I think when I started doing the solo thing and had friends tell me that like a line really resonated with them, or a song made them cry or something like that, that was really brand new for me. I was maybe 20 years old, and I had no idea it was really going to be received like that. And but yeah, that was kind of the first time I was like, maybe this is like, I should do more of this. Yeah.
Right.
Pearl, was it similar for you? Like, what was your journey like? Have you always felt like this is the direction I'm gonna go in? Have you like had jobs alongside your passion the whole time? What's it been like for you?
Yeah, so I've been making art since before I can have good memories, and it was just like such a normal thing in the house, always happening. My dad was a painter and a drawer, and so he would draw, paint with us. And I think I'm realizing more and more lately, pushing on 40, that I might be an artist now because I was just like vying for my dad's. I was trying to impress my dad, basically. To be honest, because he was, how dads can be.
Same.
They can be a bit, they can be a little
withholding.
That's the word. That's yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So I guess like, yeah, I did picture it for myself. It was like the one thing in the world that I always felt confident in. Like it was something that no one could ever take away from me. It was very much my own thing. It wasn't a hand me down. Speaking of which, like I grew up in a bigger household, like 4 kids, and I was third, so I'm like middle as fuck child. So I think it actually in the beginning, before I had could even fathom it, or obviously you're a kid, you're just trying to be loved and be seen and stand out from the pack, especially in a household like ours. And so, yeah, like it was just like a way for me to set myself apart, I think. It was like a coping mechanism, and it worked. It worked really good from a very early age. It was something that, like, speaking of my dad, he encouraged in me, and I think that meant more to me than like I said, like I'm learning for the first time ever how much that mattered, which is crazy. So, and I got so rewarded for doing art, and not just at home, but at school. I was always, from kindergarten up until I dropped out of high school, I was always like the art star, like the art girl, like that was my thing. I was always like leading in that way. And, again, it's just setting yourself apart, needing to be seen, needing to matter, and think, luckily for me, I learned that in a house full of other kids and, parents who worked a lot and couldn't be the most present, or had a lot of their own like shit to deal with all the time. And yeah, so it was like a coping mechanism and also a source of joy, and you get rewarded, and it's like how, yeah. And so, yeah, my conviction about being an artist has been strong for my whole life. And if anything, like that conviction has waned in my adult years, but I'm still doing it. I'm still at it. It hasn't left me. So I guess I wasn't wrong, or that coping mechanism, it worked out. Yeah.
I think it's like, that makes me think too, like you were saying, like in the house, it was like a way to be seen, more or less. Like, and I felt that too, not in the house really, but in like moving to a new place. I think I started playing the guitar because I was bored. And then, a couple of years down the road, realized like, oh, kids at school think that like, it's cool that I can, whatever, I can like impress people with this or whatever. And so I think that was another factor that just, I didn't have anything else in my life going like that, probably that I can think of.
And I guess I should also mention like the fact that it was a form of expression that, you know, fed my spirit, was good, probably good for my, it was just like a healthy thing to do, you know. I'm not sure that I needed that I was desperate for outlets to express myself, but that was just one that it was just like genuinely fun. And I could see myself in it, you know, so lots of self-reflection. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I feel like the place that is very interesting for us to talk about is like going from this beautiful thing that brings you joy, that gives you an outlet for expression, that gives you something to identify yourself, into then having to figure out how to make that make money, how to make that pay your rent.
Mm-hmm.
And that transition and that relationship is so hard, I think, for everyone, and feels really unnatural, whether like no matter what kind of creative thing you're doing, like trying to reckon with those things is really difficult, which is why we've had such a good time on the podcast so far, is just like talking to people who have made it work for themselves. And you two are special because you're both doing it together and in this kind of like symbiotic way. And I'm just like, please tell us your secrets, tell us your lessons, and
I
want to know everything.
We just,
A couple of lucky little fuckers,
yeah,
I guess.
so we just like both. I think we both. I mean, we met kind of like in pursuit of our art.
Yes.
You know, we met at Folk Alliance, the folk music conference, and like so I was there playing, and Pearl was there, kind of trying to like just meet new potential clients and things like that, and it kind of felt like cosmic a little bit, where, and you know, it just was like following our hearts, trying to do these unlikely things that, you know, the world made us feel like we can't do a lot of times, is like what led us to each other. So, you know, and then I think that helped us keep doing our art also, because we, like you said, we both, I mean, yeah, we kind of help each other with both we make art together a lot, visual stuff, and then Pearl's my tour manager, and she's my manager pretty much right now. So, you know, like,
no big deal.
No,
not like there's a huge workload or anything. Totally fine.
But yeah, it's really cool. I mean, we both just kind of love doing, like, helping each other with our shit.
Yeah, we're
nice.
Beside ourselves every day over it.
Yeah,
to
honestly,
be honest, like, we do.
Feels like a miracle.
Yeah. And I think, like, John and I were both in sort of desperate times at the same time before we met. I think we each crossed a threshold personally, where we just decided I'm gonna just do this. Like, I'm gonna go for it, and I'm probably gonna live in some have some desperate, difficult times. I'm probably gonna be broke a lot, and it might fail, and then that'll be devastating. And so then when we met, we were both just like after it. We were both just like these two little bright-eyed, bushy-tailed whippersnappers who like just had a lot of faith, I guess. And we're anyway, you know what? That's
No, I love it. It's so nice to hear.
You were gonna say something though.
Yeah, I totally forgot it.
Oh shit, sorry.
It'll come back around.
So like, I don't know. I think it helped that we were both not that we were like desperate when we met, but we just had this like drive, and it was kind of the beginning of like the real, more substantial success that we've.
I think we both, like, even before meeting, I think, yeah, we individually already just kind of assumed, like, I see what I'm trying to do here, right? And it's, yeah, like, I see the odds, and I think we both kind of just expected to probably live in poverty. And,
yeah, and I was ready for that.
Same. Yeah. And it has made anything beyond that feel totally amazing. So, yeah.
I mean, right before I met John, I was so decided and at peace with the fact that like I just don't think I want to find a man or, you know, date or anything. Like, you just, and it was okay. Like, it was the first time in my life I was like, this is okay. And then I met him like a couple weeks later.
I was honestly the exact same thing. I think we were both just like, we're just gonna like do our art now.
Yeah.
And then
and probably be like single, and that sounds nice. And
the
it'll
universe
be,
was like, now you're ready.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Well, going back to the idea about it's a miracle that you guys kind of got where you are through your art, which is kind of miraculous given how many people try to do it. And, you know, especially in Music City, you know, we know everybody in our friend group is trying to do it. When did it start to become like, oh, we can actually freaking do this because we're getting some success? Like, how long?
You know, when we met, we were kind of both at this point where we were already maybe a year into like making a living, each of us individually.
Oh, really? So how old were you? Just out of curiosity.
We were both 28, 29.
Gotcha. So you were like toiling for over a decade.
Yeah.
And same, you had dropped out of school.
Yeah.
So you were both kind of grinding.
Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
for
Wow.
sure.
Yeah.
And you were okay with the grind and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like, I thought, you know, I'm going to just be one of those lesser known folk singers that plays listening rooms and gets by. And if you know, you know, but it's never going to be a
Right.
household name. I mean, I'm still not, but like,
Yeah.
I'm not, but you know, like, but I'm ended up somewhere between those household name and super, super obscure. I'm like,
Right.
you know, yeah. So
Some would argue the perfect level of fame.
I think it might be actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Because you could still go to Whole Foods and people.
I feel like I really get the best of both worlds. I get the best of. I can pretty much expect anonymity, and then at the same time, I get told how awesome I am pretty regularly. So it's great.
Right.
It's great.
That's
Yeah.
a good place for people to aim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm married to a musician myself, and we have had to talk a lot about the idea that, well, I guess maybe we'll just always be a little bit poor. Like, maybe we'll just never own a house. Maybe we'll just never get to have kids. Maybe that just never will financially make sense.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us understand that those are the sacrifices that you have to make right now in the pursuit
Yeah.
of these careers that don't ever, quote unquote, sell out. It's always what you want to do. I'm just like, is that right? That feels wrong.
It does. Well, I don't know. Not that it's wrong for people to choose that, but it feels wrong to that you more or less have to. But you know, then again, I don't know that we're entitled for it not to be that way. I don't know, man. But
Hashtag capitalism.
yeah,
I always think about this.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are like pretty outspoken as far as your thoughts on that. So don't feel like you have to hold back on that at all, because I think and talk about that every day of my life.
It's true. I vouch for that.
It's like I can't help it. It just feels like it always ends up like this feels like a capitalism problem.
Right.
yeah.
Yes,
There's a lot of them that are very clearly visible these days.
It's obsession worthy for sure. Yeah, it's constantly on my mind too. Just the fine balance, and oh God, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. Like,
well, we just spoke to Robin Hitchcock, and he said that, you know, before capitalism, there was like the patronage system where rich people would, you know, pay you money to to make art about their lives.
Yeah.
So what you were making was controlled by them.
Yeah.
Cute.
In the communist society, you know, you had to make art that was approved by the state.
Totally. Yeah.
In a capitalistic society, you have to make art that is bought in by the powers that be and the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever audience you can find, if you can eke out a living doing that without selling your soul completely, you've made it.
You kind of beat the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's what I've done. I think I think that's another maybe strength of like assuming that was gonna be impoverished forever already, because it, kind of gave me the freedom to not even be interested in pandering to anybody. Didn't even feel like I can't do that anyway. Like I've already accepted my fate. Like who gives a fuck? And then there's no reason to not just do exactly what I want. And
you maybe couldn't if you tried.
And then I did, and then that's what what I wanted to do is what ended up connecting with people anyway. But yeah, and you're right. I don't think I really have it in me to be pandery anyway.
Yeah, or not just like personality, not unable to be pandery, but also just like your sort of odd disposition, just like as a sort of solemn, quiet, just very yeah.
I mean, I think what often we have to think about is, does our society or does our culture or whatever take care of artists? Do we value artists enough to like say that what you're doing merits us, helping you out financially or providing grants or, there's not a lot of funding for the arts. And so, when you guys do find success, it always has to be on your own terms. And there's always like a level where you get to where you're like, it starts to be uncomfortable with the decisions you have to make because you have to start pandering in a way.
Well,
oh, sorry. Well, I was actually going to say, like, Pearl probably can talk a lot about that because she's from Canada where they do fund the arts a lot more.
Yeah, and actually I was pretty excited to get away from Canada for that reason. I never cracked the code, busted through into the grant systems, their federal grants and provincial grants and municipal grants. And most of the working artists that I knew back home in Edmonton, Alberta, and other places I lived in Canada, but were usually government funded, and it didn't mean. I mean, I always was conflicted about that. I was like, so that means you have to, present your project, get the funding. And the project needs to be approved. It's kind of like the more communist system that you mentioned earlier. I mean, I don't think that it's nearly as oppressive or anything. Like I feel like there's a lot of freedom but they still choose. They pick and choose what they fund.
You still have to please someone. And it does seem like it can be kind of political and cliquey. And,
absolutely. It gets.
I mean, I'm very happy, like, just kind of making my own shit and, like funding it myself. My record that really gave me my career was I recorded in my bedroom at my parents' house because I live in there broke with no job. So, and I was playing shitty bar gigs and I saved up like $2,000 or $3,000 from those, and I bought some shitty gear and I recorded an album in my small bedroom, not knowing what I was doing. So
it's awesome.
I think that, and then the last record, Visitor, my last one that came out, I did the same way, except I'm just better at it now. But we did it in our living room. So
is anybody telling you what you can and can't put on an album?
Gotcha. No, never. No one's ever done that. Yeah. I mean, I think I might just have the vibe that like I wouldn't really. You probably just shouldn't do that anyway. Like,
has anyone never told you?
Well, I mean, I've never. No one's ever told me on my own project. No, I've never had that kind of direction, if that's what you want to call it, or I've never been held back in that way. But I mean, I also like the way I make money as a visual artist for the most part is just being a designer, a graphic designer, illustrator. So all of that stuff is for something, that's just that it serves that purpose. So, I'm looking to people to tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. And of course take notes and edit and cut things out and change things, so, but that's just like, that's the name of the game. So it's not obviously not oppressive, even though I feel oppressed.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Well, what's the what's the jump there from making stuff in your bedroom to playing for rooms full of people who like adore the music that you've made?
Well, I was made the record in my bedroom, and then I didn't have a manager or booking agent or anything, anybody. I did have a label called Last Chance Records based out of Little Rock at the time. That was that I met the guy that owned the label playing a show there when I played a show in Little Rock, and so he had a couple bands, like Glossary, old Nashville band, and American Aquarium was on that label, and so they had a little bit of an audience. It was American Aquarium wasn't nearly as big as they are now, but the label had a little bit of an audience, so I was like, that's a cool thing to maybe be able to tap into. I think that the people who are aware of that label would like me, and so that helped, and but other than that, it was just me. So it was kind of like, well, the things I know how to do that I'm good at are write songs and play shows. And I had the songs, and I had just made the record that I thought the record was called In the Throes, and I thought those were the best songs I had written up to that point. So I was kind of like, I'm just going to put all my effort into shows now. I'm just going to play everywhere I possibly can. And I just started touring, just booking my own tours, just, finding the places to play in different cities that have my kind of music, and or finding other artists or bands, and trying to connect with them and help each other out when, do a little show trade or whatever. And really just like hardcore scene stuff. Honestly, that's, and it was all, that was another thing that I think contributed to the fact that it kind of took a while to figure out like what I was doing, that, because it was like I had all these like, methods that worked fine in the hardcore scene. And I felt like when I came over to like roots music or Americana, or in Oklahoma, they would call it red dirt. Like I came over to that stuff, and I was just like, it's like all my instincts were wrong. I had no idea how to get a show. I had no idea how to like get people to care. And so, I think for a while I struggled trying to figure out like, what do I do? And this was when In the Throes was coming out. It was a time when I think I had gotten frustrated enough trying to figure out what I do, that I was like, I'm just going to do the shit I know how to do. I'm just going to act like I'm a hardcore band and just book my own tours and just go do it. And so, it kind of like took off pretty fast from there. Like when you have a record that people are talking about, and then you go play shows. And I mean, those were shows. I mean, the typical show was like 5 people or something, it was just like my first times getting out there. But those 5 people would get on Twitter and talk about it and tell their friends and whatever. And next time I come back, there'd be a few more people. People would hear about it on social media from them. Like that's really how it started growing. And from there, I mean, it was maybe about a year and a half before I was like working with 30 Tigers and had management and had an agent and all that stuff. So, it happened pretty fast once it kind of like started rolling.
A lot of people can't endure the 5 people show. Like they just, they just opt out immediately. They're like, I can't do it. Like, how do you put up with that for so long? Like, where does this self-belief come from that you...
I had been doing it for so long already. I don't know. I think like I'm a hardcore kid. Like some of my favorite shows, there were 5 people. I don't know, like this hardcore kid in Middle America, not in a real hardcore scene. So right. Like, some of my favorite shows were like 10 people on the roof of a parking garage, just like.
And the sets are what, like 10 or 20 minutes long?
Yeah. But I think, that's kind of what I was used to. I knew enough to, I did tours in some of those hardcore bands when I was like a teenager, and I knew like it's rough out there. Like nobody gives a shit. Nobody's, so the fact that I knew enough, like, oh, this dude I know from Facebook, or like a guy I knew in high school lives here now, or whatever, get a handful of people to come out was really more than I a lot more than I felt entitled to. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's really like, I remember just feeling grateful and like really fucking awesome and like proud to just be out there doing it, and not even really bummed about small shows or anything.
So it sounds like you would still be doing it even if you had zero, even if you still had 5 people. Yeah.
I would be doing it 100%. I mean, that's really why I do it, because like I reached a point. That's what helped me to start going for it. Is I think I realized like I'm just gonna do it no matter what, and so why not just try everything there is to try.
Gratitude high.
That's right.
That's the title. Right?
That's it. Yeah.
Pearl, I'm curious if we are similar. I feel like graphic design and like visual art is kind of a different beast than things that like I'm speaking for me, like I don't think I would make a thing if I didn't have a deadline. Like I'm just fulfilling needs. And that's like obviously very different from a songwriter or someone who's like, I have to make it because I have to, because it's in me and it needs to get out, and I don't care if anyone sees it. I'm like, I would like to do probably nothing, except for I have to do something. I can do this, so I'll do this. Where are you on that spectrum?
That's a good question, because I speaking of earlier, how I think I made art in order to feel seen and for other people. So it's like, it was always for me, but I think the real drive to do it was to show people, work, or to share, or again, just feel seen. And so it's been about that. It's still about that, unfortunately. And I'm actually trying to teach myself, now that I'm painfully aware of it, trying to teach myself or make myself find ways to make art just for me. It's way harder than it sounds. To just, self-esteem stuff comes up. It can get very like, it can be boring because it's just you. It's just for you, and that's, what does that say about my self-esteem? Don't I care to express myself for the sake of expressing myself? Like, am I excited to make this if it means that no, I won't share it? And so I did experiment with that for a while, where I was I unalived myself on Instagram for like the 3rd time, and I was just like, I'm gonna just I was doing a drawing a day on Instagram for a while, for like hundreds of days. And it was a great experience. But I did it because there was that end goal of like show and tell, and getting the likes and being seen once again, and and I found myself making stuff, drawing things that I was informed. I became very much informed by the algorithm, or by my audience, or the amount of likes I was hoping to get. That ended up informing what I was going to do next. And that's when I started to really think about all this. Like, you really do this for everyone, more for everyone else than for yourself, So I was saying, I did experiment with making art just for me, and it was really, really hard. And I didn't pick up any steam doing it. But it did make me self-reflect a lot just about all that. But with design work, I'm really grateful that I have it, because it's perfect for that sort of like people pleaser in me, that need to accommodate, people please, nurture, serve a purpose. It's not enough to just be an artist, but I'm trying to I'm still working on that. Yeah.
I actually think that's a really good reason to make art. Like the people have a lot of negative connotations around, doing it for other people, or like wanting to feel seen. But I mean, all of like
And that's a valid part of it.
You can't like look at James Brown and be like, that guy didn't want to be seen.
No, for sure.
No, for sure. Thank you for saying that. And yeah, maybe I'm giving it a much worse self-deprecating rap than is necessary. But that's what I'm learning, you know, like to what extent is that like actually a very healthy driver, and it's totally necessary, and it's fun too. But I guess, yeah, I've been struck over the years learning just how much more it was for other people than just for myself, because I think I had this idea as a younger artist, like, this is me, I'm doing this, like, I'm a badass, I rock and roll, I don't care, I'm a loner in this, you know. But all the while, I think all I ultimately wanted was to just, like, you know, connect, you know.
Right. I think that like people tend to, you know, I hate this. I'm about to say something really zillennial here. And I hate myself. But like, you know, the people that we give the flowers to, like the most authentic ones, like Kurt Cobain, like more authentic than Courtney Love. But like Courtney Love is awesome. So,
right.
You know
and
what I mean?
That's just, I'll say it, is that I've always thought that struck me as misogynistic.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's what I thought.
We're on the record now.
And, you know, yeah. And on that note,
or like Kurt Cobain, you know, is more authentic than Eddie Vedder, you know,
right,
because Eddie Vedder is a jock and he's like in good shape, and that seems awesome to me.
It's,
I mean,
and it's an authenticity in and of itself.
Exactly.
It's of some sort.
That's
like,
also
why is it less valid?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
We solved it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm so relieved to hear you say all that stuff, because that's a lot of what I'm dealing with too. And I don't know if it's because of the medium and because it's very client based, and our success is based a lot on like who wants to hire us and how much they're willing to pay for it and all that stuff. And that's a really weird place to be, trying to figure out if you're an artist or you're a service. Am I a tool or am I art? Like, what am I?
Yeah.
And it's a strange place to be, and try to figure out the money stuff also.
But songwriters have to deal with that too now, because like, you know, you're also a service in a way where it's like, if I want a romantic evening, I'll put up a playlist that's, you know,
playlist fodder.
I'm not that service.
I don't know, man. You have a lot of like.
No, I'm saying you could. No, you could like. I'm not saying my songs don't work for that. I'm saying like I'm not considerate of that at all. Like I'm just not.
It's not. It's less transactional, or it's less it's very transactional, but it's not as collaborative. There's very little collaboration.
I do it as a service to me, and it ends up being a service to other people.
Right. Your songs become of use in people's lives, however they want to use it.
They happen to.
Yeah.
But that's not what they're for.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's what. So what are they for?
They're for me to make sense of my thoughts and feelings, and honestly, they're for me to get here. Like, they're for me to not be dead right now, and for me to be sitting in this room talking to you, and for me to make it to Folk Alliance and meet Pearl, and for me to not still be, you know, whatever. I don't know.
Putting pieces of metal in boxes.
Yeah. Like, that's what I think. I think when I started writing songs, I think I had, because this is something I've like reflected on a lot lately, that I think it was, I wouldn't have been able to articulate it at the time, but I think it was, I kind of understood on some level that what I liked about it is it offered me some kind of therapeutic something that just was like kind of a life raft or a saving grace, you know, and it's been that, you know, at several periods, through my life. And that's kind of why I know I'll always do it. I mean, it's just like how I started like processing emotions when I was 10, and it's just like how I do it now.
Right.
Yeah.
And more broadly, I guess it's like you appreciate the joy in the journey of a creative life.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, I'm not made for 9 to 5, same thing every day, same place every day. I mean, I feel crazy on tour. We're in the same like place 2 or 3 days. So, and yeah, I'm definitely like made to be kind of like out there doing some gnarly fringe type shit, I think. So that's where I fit. Yeah.
You guys are really living the dream, though, of a lot of people, like getting to do that together and like helping each other out and keeping each other like sane and continuing on in your pursuits.
I know,
think it's so great.
It's nuts. It's so, yeah.
Thank God or whoever.
Yeah.
It gives a lot of hope, I think, to other people who want to do the same thing, because I think, especially the touring element, like seeing touring musicians, the loneliness that sometimes comes with that, and the insecurity. It seems really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I guess something that maybe one of the secrets, as you put it earlier, is that we always, I'm not sure that either of us had any rules for ourselves. Like, we just allowed ourselves to do things our way and figure out how to function and continue going just based on our own needs and experience, and being open to like it being like unconventional and just not being tied to how you're supposed to do things.
Yeah, I think when I got into punk rock as a like 13-year-old, I kind of knew pretty quickly I wasn't gonna have a conventional life, and I think we're both the type of people who we don't really want to be taught or shown. We just want to like do it ourselves and bang our head against the wall till we fucking figure it out. And
that
and
DIY
it works,
mentality, I guess. Yeah.
But I think the most important factor in like being able to do what we do now is just that we both decided that that's what we're fucking doing and didn't change our minds.
Yeah. And I guess lucky to have that something to feel convicted in, believe in enough, belief is the secret sauce of making anything happen. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
So a question that we always kind of close with is, if you were starting over as a 13-year-old or, a teenager now, knowing what you do about the world, knowing what you do about how hard it is to make it, would you do it again?
What year is it? Am I 13 and now or
2025? So you have Reddit, you have,
I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, I would probably do it, but I probably wouldn't play an acoustic guitar. I'd probably just use like Ableton.
Right.
But yeah, I probably would. Other than that, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think maybe I would have stayed in school, TBH. But that's very based on circumstantial stuff.
You heard it here, kids. Stay in school.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just might be even more creative than I was back then, just because, like, you mentioned Ableton, like just all the tools and the accessible ways to make art. And
but you know what though? I think part of what I like about our art is like it's fucking like weird and janky because we're self-taught. Just
for
like,
sure.
Nobody show me, just let me do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was very like self-righteous about being like someone who's self-taught, and I just see the obvious value in both for sure. Would I do it again? Yeah, I guess I probably would. Yeah.
I think I was righteous about that too. I think it's because I knew or felt that I didn't have access.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I coped with that was to be like,
paths. So it's just more like, fuck that shit.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, it's like, how am I going to afford school?
But we weren't wrong, and we're not. And it's also not wrong that school is or whatever conventional, methods can have a lot to offer too.
Yeah.
I think people really like what you guys do, though, because of the authenticity and as kind of a response to this overwhelming inundation with AI and like perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
uniformity of thought everywhere.
yeah. So when you see something that's real or you hear something that's real, there's something kind of intangible that you notice or feel that's like easier to connect with because you know it's a person on the other side.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tasty. It's fun. It's compelling and feels good.
Yeah.
So I have two Tulsa questions.
Okay.
Do you guys like the Bob Dylan Center?
Do I like it? I feel indifferent about it very much.
On the record, let it be known.
I would say I like the Woody Guthrie Center. I feel indifferent about the Bob Dylan Center.
Okay.
I have mixed feelings about the Bob Dylan Center. Yeah.
What about Sonic Drive-In, that fast food restaurant?
Good.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
They're from Tulsa, right?
Yeah.
Burgers and fries and hot dogs
Brahms, probably, but
They should like
shout out
Brahms.
Is Brahms a southern?
what's that?
It's like Oklahoma and Texas.
Okay, cool. Right on.
Oklahoma and North Texas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, Sonic, yes, Bob Dylan Center.
I love
Cool.
that.
There's, I mean, if you're
Don't
like,
get me wrong, I love me some Bobby Z, you know, but
For sure.
But yeah, that's another conversation for another podcast.
Your side Bob Dylan podcast.
yeah.
We'll get you on there next.
I like that. Well, thank you guys so much for coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh my
for sure.
God,
Thank y'all.
thanks for having us.
Yay,
That
we
was
did
awesome.
it.
All right, success.
Thanks for listening to Devalued. For more information about our podcast, please visit devalued.show.